So, hi, this is BB. As I was telling my person this morning that as I was thinking about this, really thinking about this, and if the FBI and the CIA and all these places, government agencies are a part of the problem in a sense that they started the problem. They started this thing. They started it. It's a government watch program, where they're paying civilians X amount of dollars to watch this group of people, keep an eye on them. I mean, when they were offering this grant or this bounty or this, was there like an opening where people signed up? How did this come about? How did these average Joes, these gang stalkers, how did they hear about it? Where did they get this information from that, they're hiring, or here is hiring, or he is hiring, or the CIA is hiring for keeping, tabs on a select group of people? I mean, I never heard of anything. Not that I don't socialize that much or as much as I should or would like to. I don't. So I don't know. Maybe I missed the memo. Maybe I missed the application. Maybe I missed the somebody saying something about it, if it exists. Now, I believe that a version of it does exist because people are saying so. Something like it must exist out there, if not the same thing. Like I said, though, there's so many different faculties. It's driving while black, driving while brown skin, driving while white skin, for whatever reason. If the police don't like you, I guess some of them do abuse their power, and they do what they need to do to make your life a living hell. That's to make sure you keep your mouth shut. Now, who's to say that people like you and me are not doing that so that we keep our mouths shut as well? You know what I mean? Because if this indeed started with the government, in order for this to happen, the government would have to be a part of it. Now, if the government has to acknowledge that something like this is actually happening, then they would have to acknowledge their part in it as well. And they will have to hold accountable those who they paid or they gave grants to, or they gave subsidies to, or they hired, or they deputized, whatever form or shape it might have been in. Whether it's a job application, whether it's an opening, whether it's whatever it was. I don't know. I don't know what form it took. How they got themselves landed with those gigs. I don't know. But what I'm thinking is that the government would have to acknowledge that this exists in order for them to formally start taking care of it, pressing charges, holding these people accountable for criminal activities. Well, the government gave you a $2 million or $4 million or $50 million. It doesn't matter what they gave them. And they put 50 people's name on a list, and they want you to watch them. Now, these people who got the list and got the 50 grand, what were their qualifications? How did they qualify for this particular gig? What are their qualifications? What are their how did they land those gigs? How did they even hear of it? I don't know. But if the gig, and let's take it a step further, if the government really did do this, all right? Really did do this, don't you think it's time for the government to be holding these people accountable for all the misuse of their equipment and their intel and whatever they've been doing to us, don't you think that the government, let's say the government did do this, they did do this, but there's certain guidelines. These people have way overstepped the bounds. The line, well, you can do this, you can do that, you can do this, but this definitely you don't do. This is a line drawn here. The line is no longer in sight for these sons of bitches. I'm just saying if the government is involved. Not that the line is not in sight for the government, for the people they hired or paid to whatever they do. Because if the government gave them a list of 50 names, one of one group, they can easily substitute one for another. They gave them, and Henry Amos is in there, can easily become Mary Jane. They hack into the database and they changed Henry Amos don't exist anymore, is Mary Jane now. She bad now. She's got all these things. She's a pedophile. She's used, because I say pedophile because those are the people who are watched mostly. Those are the people who are closely watched mostly. The rapists, pedophiles, people who have federal offenses, not misdemeanors, or jail time, drunken, disorderly, and stuff like that. No, you have to be a serial offender or a major offender. And for you to be on some type of watch list, or a suspected terrorist, or you're consorting with suspected terrorists, something like that, something along those lines. And if your skin is brown, you're more apt to be branded a terrorist. People will believe what they want to believe. They'll believe anything they want to believe. Their paradigm is set, and it's set in stone. This is their particular belief system, and you can't change it. Like the very rich or the very religious. If you're very rich, that's good. The very religious, well, maybe good in some instances, and in some it's not. Because instead of their energy being accommodating, like when Christ was here, Christ used to hang out with tax collectors. People didn't like tax collectors. Your landlords, your prostitutes, your tax collectors, because these are the people who needed him. These are the people who he needed to see that, you don't have to be hard on people. You don't have to be a punisher to get what you want out of life. You don't have to be tearing people's lives apart, to make a lot of money. You don't have to do that. Anyway, with that being said, oh boy. With that being said, it's who's holding these people accountable if they have government contracts? Who's holding them accountable? And even if the government, which is made up of people like you and me, have granted contracts to these people like you and me, does these people, the government has completely turned their backs on what these people are choosing to do? And if so, are they still paying them? So they've turned their back on the project, but they're still funding it. They turn their back because what? They don't want to see what the people are doing. They don't want to deal with it. Their conscience can't deal with it. But with the government, people like you and me make up the government. Would they be giving these people energy weapons and devices and ways and means to hurt a person's body that they could very well use against the people who were giving it to them? Would they risk that? No. Would they risk, though, they have to turn their whole lives upside down and run into hiding? I don't think so. I don't think the government gave it to them. Because the government, to my knowledge, would have dealt with this a different way. they would have dealt with this a different way. These people would have been put down already. May not be killed, but they would have gone. They would have been gone. I don't think the government is afraid of them. I don't think so. Because they're going to be afraid of them killing what? 1,000 people? And let them kill 10,000 instead? I don't think so. I don't think so. But I just want to know if the government is behind some of it in some instances. Isn't it time for them to start looking at their projects and looking at these people and holding them accountable for what they're doing? This is inhumane. This is torture. This is torture beyond belief. Because when you tell people, they don't believe you. They don't believe you that a group of people or one person or two people is capable of doing all this to you. They don't believe you. So it's torture beyond belief. They have a hard time believing it. It's beyond their comprehension. They can't get it. They don't get it. They dismiss it instantly. Well, you're making this up. But the human body is very resilient. The human mind is very resilient. The human desire to live and to thrive is phenomenal. Because God made us that way. He made us that way. And we cannot let these people take away our desires to live, our desire to live, to thrive, to be happy, to be successful. And if there's a government agency out there who may be behind some of this, it's time for them to start biting the bullet. Even if they don't want to give public acknowledgement that this is a problem, they need to look into what their people are doing. They need to be holding some of these sons of bitches accountable. They need to start making them accountable, even if it's just to them in private quarters. They need to do this. I mean, I don't understand this. I don't even have as much as a traffic ticket. I've never been to court other than for domestic violence. I've never been to court. It was against me, I wasn't the one administering it. So, what's this now? What branch of the military or the U.S. government or the world did I piss off? Who did I piss off? Why would they put me on why is my name on a watch list? For what? Because the color of my skin? No, I don't buy this anymore. The government, if they're behind a part of this, they need to take responsibility. They need to rein their people in, and they need to make them accountable for what they're doing. Because I can't see the government giving out millions of dollars to various groups of people all over and just letting them run willy-nilly. How did these people get these jobs to begin with? Was there an opening somewhere? Was there a mass hiring and I never heard of it? I don't understand. Because these people are civilians just like me and you. They don't have any qualifications for this. I don't understand. But I'm just saying. Whatever they started, if the government is behind some of it, whatever the government started, they should know, they have to know that it's gotten out of control. When are they going to do something to put a plug in it? Good question.